Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Shall we start now?
Please go ahead.
Principal ma'am,
Principal ma'am was here.
Sangeeta ma'am. Sangeeta ma'am is not here. जरा पूछो, देखना निधि, मैं फोन करती हूँ उन्हें. निधि, वो मेरे को तो दिखाई नहीं दे रहे हैं. मैम कह रहे हैं मैंने दूसरे उससे किया, जरा देखो. मैम तो प्रेजेंटर बनाना पड़ेगा उनको.
मैंने प्रेजेंटर बनाया हुआ है मैम को.
नहीं, वो उसमें एग्जिट हो गए थे, दूसरे उन्होंने डिवाइस से किया, उसमें दिख तो नहीं रही
मैम इज
प्रेजेंटर में.
हियर. मैम इज हियर.
मैम आ गई.
आ गई है, ठीक.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
मैम,
yes ma'am, yes ma'am.
Okay. Right.
अक्षिता मैम स्टार्ट करें.
Yeah, please go ahead.
ओके,
Go.
अक्षिता स्टार्ट बेटा.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I, Akshita Arya, Secretary of Commerce Society, warmly welcome you all to the annual Commerce Fest Innovation 2022. I feel proud to announce that our society puts in great amount of efforts to arrange an interactive and interesting two-day fest. Today, we begin this prestigious fest with an interactive and insightful webinar with Professor Aman Agarwal and Mr. Shishir Sinha as eminent speakers to share their profound thoughts and expertise on the topic crypto, concept, essence, and future. The next day is equally interesting with being a composition of inter-college competitions like Instagram marketing, quiz competition, Shark Tank, and Memology. So, without any further ado, let's begin with today's session for which we all have been eagerly waiting for. I am honored to welcome our principal, Professor Sangeeta Pandita, eminent speakers, Professor Raman Agarwal and Mr. Shishir Sinha, respected teachers, and my dear mates to this webinar on crypto, concept, essence, and future of our event, Innovation 2022. I would now like to invite our principal ma'am to say a few words and address our speakers and audience.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Akshita, and a very warm, happy good morning and warm greetings to everybody, especially our distinguished speakers for this morning. The Commerce Fest, as we knew it back then, used to be called ComFest, but you've chosen to give it a very meaningful name, very interesting though. What is it called? Innovation. What is it called? Innovation. Huh?
Innovation.
Okay, okay. So very interesting because it involves, it combines innovation as well as vision. I don't know what went through your mind when you were designing this. It appears to me a very interesting name, Innovision. So that sets things right for you right from the beginning, because name, if you have the name right, everything else goes in that direction. So innovation is going to be with you. So is your vision very, very clear. So innovation is something very dear to me. This word has been with me for now 30 years. Whatever I did in my research career is based on that. So naturally, I am quite attracted to this particular word. And the way world is unfolding itself, it appears that in every field, we will need innovation and more of it, right? So it's important to understand, as I often clarify before my audience many times, that we often have these two words running parallel, that is creativity and innovation. So many times, to many students, these differences are not very clear, but these are very clear and precise. See, any thought process going through your mind towards thinking of an alternative solution, ways of doing things would come under creativity. You have, in every individual is bestowed with that potential, creative potential. Many of those thoughts you will see are not practical. Many of them cannot be converted into something, a little product, or whether it's a solid product or a mind product. Many of those thoughts are just lost in that web. So those thoughts that cross those thinking processes, several thinking processes, eventually end up into a product. That is what an invention or an innovation product really means, and we need many of these products now. It doesn't really mean a whole lot of solid products, but something which which is sellable, which makes sense to others, which is a proposition, and which translates into something that a person is really looking for. So innovation is really based on your solutions approach. It's a solutions approach. And anything that irks you, anything that irritates you, essentially is ground for innovation, is ground for innovation. And as I've already mentioned in many, last time we met the commerce students, that commerce to me means a lot of potential. To me, it's brimming with potential, because you have the essentials right, you're studying the right subjects that can cause you to convert your creativity into innovation. Therefore, you're perhaps ideally set to make a difference in this world, right? So the mix of topics that you have chosen, as Akshita rightly said, that this is a mix of academics plus a lot of fun and plus other activities that you have designed, I would say. So this is also not very easy, designing a festival like this also needs a lot of thinking and right thinking. So I think you should deserve congratulations for putting up such a nicely designed fest for the next 2 days. It starts with a webinar, which is our own, which all academicians love. This is our cozy corner. We love to talk and discuss and have a seminar kind of an environment. So you have chosen to start this festival like that. That's wonderful. And your guests this morning are equally wonderful because they're going to talk to you something about a topic which is mystifying. The name is cryptocurrency or crypto. It is mystifying, but I'm sure at the end of their talk, many of those things will be demystified, and we will be far better informed about this new kind of dimension that is coming up. So I welcome Professor, heartily welcome your guests of the day, Professor Aman Agarwal, Shishir Kumar ji, and other guests that you have invited, all the faculty that has been with you all this time in designing, planning, and executing, all the students, you have my good wishes for the next 2 days. May you have a wonderful this fest, because it is happening after 2 years. It has an added flavor to it, right? So all the best to everybody, and again a warm welcome to our distinguished guests for this day. Thank you so much. I'll join in parts because I'll be traveling, and in between I will certainly try to catch up some of your talk on my way to college. Really, thank you so much. All the best and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Ma. Being a hot topic for discussions all over the world and making its place in the whole world, cryptocurrency has been an indispensable part of economy, and every country has welcomed it. From just hearing about this fresh idea given by Satoshi Nakamoto, a digital currency as medium of exchange few years ago, to making it a part of their economy. But questions like what place did cryptocurrency make in India, or why is it a part of our budget, must have been our thoughts when we first heard it. So, not to worry, for we have Professor Aman Agarwal and Mr. Shishir Sinha to put rest to your questions. Professor Aman Agarwal is heading as Professor of Finance, Dean of International Relations and Director at Indian Institute of Finance. He's an Executive Director of Journal of Finance, Finance India, and has also briefly worked at the World Bank in Washington, D.C., USA. He has been felicitated with a lot of awards, including ISME Life Fellow Award, United Nations REX Karamveer Chakra Award, in recognition of his contribution to academics and literature. His in-depth analysis and views with regards to financial policies, education, capital market, and economic scenario of the country and the world appear frequently on radio, TV, and newspapers. We welcome you, sir. And Mr. Shishir Sinha is working as business journalist for last 22 years, comprising 15 years in broadcast media and 7 years in print media. He has worked as business editor with EBP News and currently is senior deputy editor in the Hindu Business Line. Apart from working as business journalist, he regularly engages himself in government publications like Yojana Journal and Kurukshetra Journal and conducts talk shows related to economic issues. I welcome you, sir, and would like to invite you to address the audience.
Thank you, Akshita. Sangeeta ma'am, Shivani ma'am, Mukesh sir, Nidhi ma'am, Professor Agarwal. It's good to be back in Zakir Hussain College. This is my second engagement here. The first time when I came there, it was a youth day, I believe, if I recall correctly. Swami Vivekananda Jayanti, and I was invited to talk about youth aspirations and everything. Today, I've been asked to talk about crypto. So, Akshita, let me take the word which you have mentioned here, innovision. So, innovation and vision. So, crypto is a new innovation. The issue is what kind of vision it has. And that is the most important thing. We all are discussing what it is, whether it is a legitimate one, whether it is something which has all the feature of money, whether it is providing medium of exchange, store of value, unit of account, and everything. So I'm just going to make a small presentation to talk about this particular topic. And then I will be available for some question answer if time permits. So let me bring my presentation here for you. Give me a second, please. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first issue is the real one is the fiat currency, because whole debate is about the fiat currencies versus virtual currency or digital currency. Is digital currency can be considered as a fiat currency? Is cryptocurrency can be considered as a fiat currency? If we take example of El Salvador, which is the only country as of now which has given a kind of stature, legal stature to cryptocurrency. But apart from El Salvador, all the 189 sovereigns are still mulling whether we should consider this as an asset, whether we should consider this as a medium of exchange, whether we consider this as a money. What is that? So that is one issue which is always discussed. And if we start with that, the most important thing is the fiat one. And we all know that Indian currency is a fiat currency. All over the world, interestingly, all over the world, the concept of fiat currency gained popularity in 1971 after end of Bretton Woods Agreement. But in India, it started in 1940 when the silver rupee was replaced by alloy rupee. That's a 1 rupee note was reintroduced. And then we have three particular sections of RBI. That's Section 22 of RBI Act, which talks about RBI shall have the sole right to issue banknotes. Section 24 is about the maximum denomination, and Section 33 talks about the minimum reserve system, that whether the currency is backed by a legal or whether it is backed by a precious metal. We all know that currency is backed, all the currencies are backed by the financial asset. Now, when we talk about the cryptocurrency, it is what? It is what? इसको हम लोग कहते हैं ना कि ये एक आभासी है, एक वर्चुअल चीज है जो हमें दिखती नहीं है. एंड दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड. जब हम लोग फिजिकल करेंसी की बात करते हैं, चाहे आपके वॉलेट में 100 रुपए का नोट हो, 500 रुपए का नोट हो, or whether you have the coins of 1 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, or 50 rupees. So you have something to see that. But when we talk about cryptocurrency, we do not know what it is. ये कैसा है, कैसा दिखता है, ये हमको पता नहीं है. So any picture which you are seeing on the screen, they are just the representative picture. It is not the actual picture of the cryptocurrency. So most important thing about the cryptocurrency and the whole debate it starts. हम लोग कहते हैं ना कि अगर इसके साथ करेंसी वर्ड ना जुड़ा होता क्रिप्टो के साथ, तो शायद इतना विवाद नहीं हो रहा होता. That's a reality. If we would have gone just with the word crypto, तो शायद हो सकता था कि इसकी चर्चा होती, but it would not have gone into a kind of price realization what we are talking about. So the whole debate is about करेंसी, द वर्ड करेंसी. पूरी चर्चा जो है हमारी इसी चीज पे है कि करेंसी शब्द क्या है और क्या करेंसी को क्रिप्टो के साथ जोड़ा जाना उचित है या नहीं है. This is the person whom we know as the Satoshi Nakamoto. He is a bust which have been set up in Budapest, and just if you see the bust, ये कहीं भी इनका कोई चेहरा नहीं दिख रहा है. And we do not know whether Satoshi Nakamoto was a man, whether it was a woman, whether he or she, what kind of person it was, whether he was really existing, क्या ये group थे, क्या ये कैसे थे, we do not know. And that particular bust in Budapest gives the impression about what kind of creator or what kind of innovator Satoshi Nakamoto have. So if we talk about the Bitcoin, I'm just giving you some history about the Bitcoin or the crypto one. So on October 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto sent a 9-page paper to a group of cryptographers outlining a new form of electronic cash, which is called Bitcoin. And on January 2009, Nakamoto launched the Bitcoin network, and Mr. Fine was one of the few who was intrigued by it. In December 2010, Nakamoto stopped posting publicly, and he stopped talking about this particular issue with the developers in 2011. So देखिए 2008 से हम 2022 में हैं और आज तक जबकि हर चीज का पता करना संभव है, लेकिन अभी तक ये पता नहीं चल पाया कि आखिरकार ये सातोशी नाकामोतो है कौन या थे कौन. क्या ये पुरुष थे, क्या ये महिला थी, ये कौन थे, we do not know. But that is why it's a mystery. जैसा अभी संगीता मैम वर्ड यूज करी थी कि मिस्टिफाइंग है, इसमें बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं जिसके बारे में हमें पता नहीं है. And that is why it makes more and more interesting. It attracts more and more people towards it. ये और भी डिटेल्स है बिटकॉइन के बारे में. And if you go to the last point, today the 1 million bitcoins which were in mined initially, they are worth $55 billion. कहा जाता है कि सातोशी नाकामोटो ने जो की था, जो पासवर्ड था, वो खो दिया है, जिसकी वजह से ये जो बिटकॉइन है ये मूव नहीं कर पाए. और आज यदि नाकामोटो का कोई एग्जिस्टेंस होता तो he or she would have been one of the 30 richest people in the world. Just imagine कितनी बड़ी संख्या होती, कितने बड़े उनके पास अमाउंट होते. But the thing is that it's a mystery. We don't know who Nakamoto was. He or she हमें बिल्कुल भी नहीं पता है. और जो भी हो, but the fact is that Bitcoin is attracting more and more what you can say people towards it, and especially the millennials, the young people are getting more and more attracted towards that. The second thing is, if you talk about the world of crypto, when it started in 2008, it was a very small amount. 2017, the capitalization was $20 billion. In February 2020, the capitalization went up to 289 billion. And in 2021, it came to $2.9 trillion. As on February 9, 2022, it stands at 1.98 trillion. आप सभी को पता है कि रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच के वॉर की वजह से बिटकॉइन पे भी असर पड़ा है, इसके मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन पर भी असर पड़ा है. सो ओवरऑल द क्रिप्टो मार्केट हैज कम डाउन टू 1.98 trillion. If we talk about the overall market, Bitcoin accounts for almost 42% of market capitalization. The top two, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they accounts for 61%, while top 5 accounts for 71%. And if you see the numbers, 17,000, over 17,000 cryptocurrencies are at this moment all over the world. If we talk about mining of Bitcoin, if we mine 900 new Bitcoins every day, it will require almost 45 million worth of power. और यही वजह है कि हम लोग कहते हैं कि environment के point of view से भी इसके क्या problems हैं. ये सारे कंसर्न्स हैं, ये सारे बातें हैं, लॉजिक है कि इसके ऊपर क्यों बैन करना चाहिए और क्यों बैन नहीं होना चाहिए. ग्लोबली, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द ग्लोबल थिंग, आउट ऑफ 190, as I told you that El Salvador is the only country which has given the legal stature, 189 they are still mulling that what should be done. And if you go into any developed countries, any advanced economies, they have not given any regulation on that, but they are using this in one way or other way as a payment tool or in some kind of financial tool, but it has not given any kind of recognition. इंडिया में इसको लेकर के हमेशा ये चर्चा चलती है कि क्या इसको बैन कर दिया जाना चाहिए, क्या ये इसको बैन नहीं किया जाना चाहिए. दोनों के अपने अपने डिबेट हैं. जो कहते हैं कि बैन नहीं होना चाहिए, उनका कहना होता है कि हम टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, टेक्नोलॉजी एडॉप्शन में हम पीछे रह जाएंगे. और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि इन इंडिया, if we are talking about a universe of 1.5 to 2 crore people who have invested in cryptocurrencies, can we think of a ban kind of situation? Certainly, it is not something very practical one at this moment. दूसरी तरफ जो लोग बैन की वकालत करते, जो कहते हैं कि इस पे बैन लगना चाहिए, उनके अपने लॉजिक हैं. और सबसे बड़ा लॉजिक ये है कि since it is a decentralized system, that means anyone can mine it. When we talk about currency, just one monetary authority can bring that. So decentralized versus centralized, ये एक डिबेट है जो कि बैन वर्सेस नॉट बैन को लेकर के चर्चा करता है. Now the issue is that why advanced economies are not banning. There are so many things, there are so many arguments have been given. One argument is that most of the crypto companies are based in the advanced economies. It is also contributing in their development. It is also giving contribution in their GDP, and they don't want to disturb their GDP. It is adding to their GDP, so they don't want to disturb that. Second thing is that dollar, most of the cryptos are also having price in the terms of dollar. So wider adoption would actually result in the wider adoption of dollar also. Now, what happened in the union budget? So you all know that. मुझे बताने की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं है. But जो 3 critical point थे, वो यही थे. First is the 30% tax. The second one is TDS, and the third one is the gifting के ऊपर भी टैक्स लगेगा. इनफैक्ट थर्ड पॉइंट के ऊपर जो है वो कई बार ऐसे भी इश्यूज आए कि आप किसी को गिफ्ट दे रहे हो तो गिफ्ट पे आप टैक्स कैसे लगाओगे, वो भी एक क्लैरिटी अब आ रही है. वो ये है कि जो उस समय का मार्केट प्राइस होगा उस हिसाब से टैक्स लगेगा. एंड प्लीज रिमेंबर, the budget has not used the word crypto in anywhere, in any of the paragraph. They have used the word virtual digital asset or VDA. और VDA का भी पूरा उन्होंने एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है कि what is the VDA. But at the end of the day, there's nothing called crypto in our budget. We are using the word VDA. Next issue is ये जो 3 questions हैं. Will taxation means cryptocurrency a legal one? Normally, taxation does not automatically or naturally provide legitimacy. तो कई बार ये चर्चा भी होती है कि क्या आप टैक्स लगाओगे तो ये कानूनी तौर पर सही हो जाएगा. But the fact is, if you talk to any legal expert, they can tell you that taxation does not automatically or naturally provide legitimacy. But there is one catch here. What is that catch? If it is not violating any domestic law, तब तक ये illegal नहीं होगा. The second thing is, in law, it needs to be written that it is an offense. उसके लिए आपको punishment provide करना होता है. Then only we can call it as illegal. At this moment, there's no clarity. So we can say whether it is legal, answer is no. Whether it is illegal, answer is no. So what is the position? We do not know. That is the real position. The second thing is that will taxation provide a legal mechanism to convert black money into white? Now, if you talk to any tax people, and since I believe one chartered accountant, Ashok sir, is also here, he can also throw some light on that. And of course, Professor Agrawal can also throw light on that. When we say that will taxation provide a legal mechanism, कई बार कहते हैं ना कि रिश्वत के पैसे हैं, रिश्वत के पैसे के ऊपर अगर इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट टैक्स लगा दे तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं होता है कि रिश्वत का पैसा जो है वो कानूनी तौर पर सही हो जाता है. First thing is that you tax. The tax department first tax, and then it talks about the source. इसका source क्या है? And that source, finding the source, will take you to the trouble. ये एक issue है जो कि second जो आपका question है कि will taxation provide a legal mechanism to convert black money into white? It may not be possible. The third thing is that will taxation proposal stand in legal scrutiny? Tax officials are confident. But I must tell you that one particular issue is in Supreme Court. Last Friday, the matter came before the Supreme Court, and the issue was that one person frauded almost a number of people, and he assured that he will give certain kind of guaranteed income on the basis of Bitcoin. So total number of 47 FIR lodged against that person. Now the issue was कि हम उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई किस आधार पर करें, किस चीज को लेकर के कार्रवाई करें. And that is why Supreme Court has asked that we want you to tell us in an affidavit whether cryptocurrency trade involving Bitcoin or any other such currencies is legal in India or not. What is the regime for Bitcoin trade at present? तो अभी की सिचुएशन में ये है कि बजट में ये प्रपोजल आ गया है. अभी की सिचुएशन ये है कि कंसल्टेशन ये चल रहा है. अभी का सिचुएशन ये है कि we do not know whether it is a legal or illegal thing, but the fact is that almost 1.5 to 2 crore people have put up their money into this particular asset. They think that it is a future. They think that it is something which is going to give them good return. So can we take some kind of very harsh action? Can we take some kind of banning kind of thing? These are all issues which we will hear from the government when the consultation will start. But at this moment, crypto is still finding itself in the mystery. So there is innovation, but we still have to find the vision behind that. So that's all from my side. So thank you very much. And if there is any question, I'm ready to answer.
Shall I go ahead?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. I now invite Professor Aman Agarwal to address the audience.
Please just confirm me if you are able to see the presentation.
Yes, sir. It's
Yes,
visible now.
Very well. Thank you for the invitation. I would like to thank Professor Sangeeta Pandita, Dr. Nidhi Dhawan, Professor Dr. Mukesh Jain, who kindly invited me to address at the Zakir Hussain Delhi College Commerce Society's Fest, which is InnoVest, very nice and beautifully named, as Professor Dr. Pandita talked about, talking about the vision and innovation. Now, I did see some very interesting remarks in the introductory remarks. Then my colleague from the student community talked about the crypto, and then I'm happy that Shishir gave the introduction, because it does help me build some base as well as answer some of the questions which he has raised, which we have been answering from 2015-16 onwards at various platforms, and including Government of India, various other governments have been looking at some of our works. This is the main work which we did, and which was published way back in 2018. And then after that, RBI did create a committee to look at the structuring or introduction of a central bank digital currency in terms of introducing the currency. Just a second. I hope you're still able to see the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Very well. So, these are the work, as I said, which we started way back in 2015-16, and we consulted after our work for almost a year with about 5 central bankers, ministry people across the globe, and other professors and academicians before we finally submitted it for publication. And then the second work was published in NYU Professor Balachandran's book of Stern School of Business on Information and Efficiency Decision Making by World Scientific. In any case, we have been interviewed at various television channels on this. And I'm happy to say that as an academician, our research work is finding a policy decision making by the Government of India. In fact, Shri Arun Jaitley talked about this in his budget in 2018 itself, after an interview on Delhi Doordarshan, where he said that it is not a legitimate legal tender, and he clarified in the budget in one word that it is not a legal tender. So this was one of the first, who less than the then Finance Minister of India, saying this to the public at large, and in a document which is read by almost every class in this country. So to say that the government has not taken a call on it, or not created or structured at least a framework which was clearly mandated, and it is very well written. You can go and see the budget document which is available on the Ministry of Finance website from the very beginning of India's independence. When the budgets are created, all budget documents are there. 2018 is when he clearly said in 2 words, it is not a legal tender. Before I begin my presentation, this is what I learned at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. 20 years back. This is our works, and we will be held responsible. It has nothing to do with the institutions which we represent. There are some of my colleagues from across the globe, including Stefan, who was with me at the IMF when I was there in the World Bank, who is currently one of the longest standing governors of the Riksbank, the Central Bank of Sweden, and a very highly respected member of the governors community in central banking, and a couple of others from different parts of the world who actually have been guiding me and helping me understand my own works, getting a clarity of our works. Today, I will focus my presentation. In any case, this PPT would be available to my colleagues. I'll send it to Mr. Jain and others, and they will be available for students and anyone to access in terms of PDF or PPT format. I will not be touching on all the aspects given the 45 minutes framework which was given to me, but I will touch on the core aspects and then go forward. So we are looking at first modeling, understanding what environment we are in, why we are doing things and all, and then go on to discussing the crypto and what we propose and how it is working across the globe and how it is getting created. And also some finer prints on the union budget, which although partly has been touched by Shishir, but then there's still some things which he raises questions, which I will clarify there itself, which I did on the 1st February also, when I was there on television from 7 a.m. in the morning till 10 o'clock for 15 hours, constantly without break. This is a model which we have been talking about for almost last 18 years now, 20 years, 2002-3, we started talking about it, where we said these are 3 components which need to be taken into account to introduce sustainable development, which is technology, environment, and human capital. I'm happy that I presented this works at almost about 5 or 6 parliaments, which include European Parliament, the Finnish Parliament, the Swedish Parliament, the Italian Parliament, the Uzbek Parliament, and a couple of other forums, intergovernmental forums, like the OECD and others. And these 3 things, a combination of these 3 things need to come together to induce sustainable development and ultimately finance binding that framework to induce employment, which will generate growth and well-being of the society and the people. And there's something which I can say is also visible in the Union Budget 2020 and last 4 budgets. Also, the fact I support this argument, the last 5 Nobel Prizes which have been given out actually talk about our model in different forms and even visible in the Union Budget, which we saw in 2022 by Nirmala Sitharaman ji. Where David and Joshan talked about labor markets and human well-being, empirical contributions of labor economics was there, which talked about, again, the human capital building. Then about money, accounting, knowledge, human well-being was talked by Paul and Robert in terms of improvement, auction theory, and invention of near auction formats in the previous year. Previous to that, Abhijit, Esther, and Michael got the Nobel Prize for the economic empowerment and building human capital again from their experimental approach of alleviating poverty, and then going to healthcare, and then going to education, and so on and so forth, which will ultimately build up the society. So talks about the same framework which we had just presented to you as a model from 2002 onwards. Then the knowledge and human well-being by William and Paul, which integrated climate, technology, and long-run economic growth curves. And this is something, again, takes into those 3 components which we actually said in our model, which you can see very clearly, which is technology, environment, human capital, inducing that sustainable level. So an appropriate mix of it needs to be there, both at the macro level or at a unit level, like an institution or even a family today. So you think that you can't embrace artificial technology, or I will be like that village in United States where even electricity is not there even today as a matter of concept. They have no electricity. They still run on lamps, and they have not induced any electrical component within the whole township, which is near New York itself, not far away from there in Pennsylvania. And so there are ways, but then we have to embrace some of these technologies. Another concept which we talked about way back in 2005 and all was inducing the combination of inflation and savings. I'm happy the RBI and a couple of other governments are looking at this, because earlier, after 89, when Frederick Mishkin talked about inflation targeting, United States had done that. Even Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government in early 2002, 2003, 2004 did it, and we saw a strong reduction in inflation, but then there was a huge impact on the economic growth. So an appropriate mix of both. Moving from savings directly to inflation is not good, so a mix of both is being done. And RBI does follow this mechanism, known and unknown, in their fashion. Some of our works which we have been consisting, in any case, since it's not a pure research community, I skip this component here. This is something which we are going through. Please understand, where does this concept of crypto and Satoshi Nakamoto come into picture? Some of the corporate world talks about it after the world financial crisis in 2007-8. It is something which came up. Please understand, he is as virtual, as non-existent, as legal or illegal as is these so-called cryptocurrencies. I refer to them as crypto products. It is not known exactly, as Shishir also mentioned, where is he born? Is he male, female? Where does he exist? In a world, in a country like United States and Japan, which every person is indexed and has a social security number the day they are born from there on. How is it that someone who is from a Japanese descendants named is not known, no identity, no ID, in fact, at all? So it is creating that mystic structure, whether it was there or not, or it is just a creation of a group of corporates who wanted to launch something on the wake of the world financial crisis, which took place as an alternative, because the countries were not ready to do fiscal spending to bail out banks and financial institutions in 2007-8, after the Lehman Brothers crisis and others, which started taking place one after the other throughout Europe and US. And that did have ripple effects, but then this was something which got created. So we have been living in a world of global disequilibrium, interdependence. 3 main components which are key concerns for all governments and all nations, including India, is growth, unemployment, and labor. Establishing that balance is important. Central banking, and market responses are critical. Digital revolution, I think the millenniums, or the Generation Z as they call them now, are very well aware and of the advantages of the dividends and the security issues which some of these face. In any case, I will not go to the others. Just to give you a brief input, we have seen the benefits of digitalization. It is not something new. And that's where the ICT, or the way the world poorest of the poor who have access to mobile phones, the way Jan Dhan account, the way the digital payment gateways are creating platforms for people across the globe to not only transfer, but actually grow their own framework, grow their families, and go forward. This is something which is certainly there, as we have been proposing, not Bitcoins, but crypto or virtual currencies or digital currencies as proposed by Nirmala Sitharamanji, by a central bank, is the need of the hour, and which needs to be taken care of. In any case, as I said, I will skip some of these charts which talk about the way digitals have grown across the globe. It is important that we see this artificial intelligence. We have in this work by Bala's book, we talked about, given case studies, how the digital influx, both through artificial intelligence and blockchains. Please understand, blockchain is not Bitcoin. Blockchain is not any other current crypto product. Blockchain is a technological platform. Like you have Windows, you have Linux, you have Unix, you have DOS. Similarly, blockchain is a platform. So there have been usages of artificial intelligence and blockchains in terms of inducing benefits and growth in almost all these areas, which include agriculture, rural, national healthcare. Even this time we saw in the budget how they were to digitalize healthcare. Agriculture, we saw the influence, women, social welfare, and so on and so forth. Even taxation, we've seen the way online returns which are being filed and the way they are settled so quickly is benefiting in terms of digitalization and even artificial intelligence and use to screen some of these applications. So we see those monetary and fiscal prudence to be done. We could not think about the governments could not take decisions so swiftly because they had to collect data before. But today, with the digital framework, platforms, and blockchain usage, they're able to comprehend, get a basic analysis, and then take a decision on monetary and fiscal policy and induce livelihoods for people at large. How does it go forward? In any case, this work is there, accessible to people, can go ahead, look at it. Some of the key areas where we have contributed in terms of Money Laundering Act, which we proposed in 93, 94, 95, got introduced, and the Money Laundering Act came into picture. Kisan Credit Card, again, uses artificial intelligence today, and which has been there at 98, we introduced. Immediately it was introduced. Tax incentive reforms. Then the World Energy Fund, post office banking, I'm happy. Again, Nirmala Sitharamanji has talked about it. 2008 onwards, we've been talking about it. We were able to find a Lok Sabha TV interview in 2013, where it is clearly mentioned exactly the same way we are able to see that happen. National Labour Exchange, which Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal has introduced as Rozgar Exchange, or even UP is looking at creating one. And about 5 countries we are in touch with are in terms of actually introducing this exchange, like a stock exchange, where labor is treated as wealth. Again, uses artificial intelligence, blockchain, and others. Crypto, in any case, products which we have been suggesting from 2016 onwards, mobile mandis and mandis on wheel. I'll just touch upon the way we are going through the uncertainty and then move to the main topic of today, which is crypto and how does it move forward.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, your screen is freezed. We are not able to see the PPT.
Just a second. Let me try again. Are you able to see now?
Yes, sir.
Very well. So just a second, please. So as I was saying, I will move to this uncertain times which we are living in and the way complexity is growing in terms of digital influx and digital currencies going forward and influencing us. Please understand from the very beginning, from 2020 onwards, when I was invited initially in January to talk on this issue on televisions, I contacted doctors and all, and they said, Corona is not something which has been born today. It's been there for 2000 years. So when I said it's been there for 2000 years, what is stopping it to be there for the next 2000 years? So we have to look at life with Corona, and this is something which is unpredictable, unseen, and we need to accept this fact of life and go forward with it. Is it a new thing? Is it the first time we are seeing this happen or go forward? No. I'll just show you the graphs. As I said, you can go through the presentation. We have seen large number of crises in terms of pandemics, epidemics happen. 50%, 70%, 80% of civilizations of cities, domains have disappeared in some of them. But we survive, we are still talking, we are communicating with each other. So I don't see a reason to be scared by any one of us because of Corona per se. Many of them still existing. All these 5 which are mentioned in this slide are still existing. They have not gone away. AIDS in 1981 onwards, still an epidemic and pandemic still not gone away. So there are a large number of them still not gone away, still existing, but we have gone forward and moved forward and living with them. In these ways of life, we move forward with understanding what this currency can help us and do. Shishir did talk about these terms called medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value. Before I go forward, my dear friends, I'd like to tell you firstly, I refer to them as crypto products. They are not currencies. If you go to the chapter of money, read classical money, as did Shishir mention about the fiat currency and all, but the basic concept of money, which is these 3-4 terms, does not qualify. They do not qualify in any form. Also, if you go to security analysis and portfolio management subjects, you may have some books in your library. Go and read some of them. In financial management, they have a chapter also, books. If you read them, you will understand that there is a definition for an asset class. These products do not even qualify that definition of an asset class. And in my next 4-5 minutes, you will understand why. So please do not think of them. And that is why large number of countries have not introduced it, not accepted this either as a currency or even as a product floating in the market. What is a medium of exchange? Medium of exchange is not that 2, 3, 4, 10, 50, 100 people, 500 people, 1 lakh people are exchanging that particular product. You see, you go to a casino, large casinos in California and in Macau and a couple of other places. Hundreds, lakhs of people trading there. Small chips, coins. I have not been to one, but I've seen on television. They have those coins, chips, each valued a different color, different value, and so on and so forth. Does that make it? It is exchange. It is something which is exchange. Tips are given in that. Drinks and food is bought with those chips. People can hold on to those chips and trade it next day, come back next year. They don't need to encash it immediately. Does that make it a medium of exchange? Can I call it a medium of exchange? No. It has to be amongst a huge, large community. Only then does it become a medium of exchange. When a common man is exchanging it for the purpose of buying goods and services. Is it a unit of account? Can it be accountable? It's in a ledger. Can it be traceable? It is not traceable. Does it hold value? Who is giving the value? When we say rupee or a dollar, my dear friends, we say, where does it get its value from? The value of a rupee and dollar comes from the total assets of a nation, publicly held or privately held. I've explained this in almost 5-6 pages in the article, talking about how the money got created, where does the value of accounts come from, where does the store of value come from in case of a currency. The whole assets, it's your assets, my assets, publicly held assets. All those assets are backing the currency, whether it is rupee or a dollar. Recent case of Greece, when the debacle took place in Greece, what did we see? Greece was in doldrums. It did not have power to print euro because Europe, it was joined the European Union and the ECB moratorium structure, and the euro could only be printed by the ECB. They did not have sufficient currency. What did they start doing? They started selling public assets. If public assets would have been sold and still they were not stable, they would have started selling private assets. So all the assets held in a country are the ones which give the strength or the value to the currency. So this is where, and that needs to be accountable. That needs to come in the accounts. Even an automobile company started talking about Bitcoins, but then withdrew because it could not be taken into a unit of account framework. And the store of value could not be justified. I will come to it later when petrodollar was launched by Venezuela based on the petroleum reserves they had. One of the initial ones to be launched, but then they had to withdraw. The concept was fine. It had an underlying asset. It had a value coming in. It had a store component, but then it had to be withdrawn because those oil reserves were not there at all. So it has to have its value coming. These three components are not visible in any of the crypto products floating in the market for the last 13, 14 years. The correct measure of money, which is Euro or Bron, which we qualify as M1, M2, M3, as seen in the last line, can be seen. I'll just come to that later. You can go, as I said, study money. All those from economics, can even commerce people can go and study in economics. They're taught a subject or two in economics. Please read about money. You'll come to understand this. Cryptocurrencies is something which I refer to as the new avatar or the Hawala, the dark web or the legitimacy is still not there. These are the crypto products which I'm talking about. We have seen the way currency has changed form. We have seen gold, as Shishir also talked about, silver, leather, wood, metal, paper, plastic. And this is where I said, you don't need to have minds to create them. You only need to change their form, like the forms are changed from previous to now. Value and wealth, I've already talked about the structure which came in underlying asset. And I'm happy we have been talking about it from 2016, 15 onwards. RBI Governor Shaktikant Das also about 2-3 weeks back said that these products do not have an underlying asset. Finally, between that also different officials, including deputy governors, Minister for Finance for State, Piyush Goyal committee, which has created the cryptocurrency bill, and other members of the society, including Ministry of Commerce, and also this committee which was created to look at our work and create the digital currency, has talked about the framework that the underlying assets are not there and they should not be, and has publicly come and said. I think large number of public officers have been saying, so if people can't still understand and hear, I'm sorry, then it's something wrong with them. It is not something wrong with the government. Multiple times they have been saying. Certainly what Shishir said is right. They have not given a clear-cut outside saying they are illegal today. But they have told at many stages, like a legal tender, what more than a budget and the finance minister talking about it? What more do you want him to say? Multiple officers, governors, deputy governors talking. Who less can speak about it? So this is there. But what we have also proposed is, in case we introduce cryptocurrencies as digital currency, which Nirmala Sitharaman has given a target for in the budget for 2022-23, we will have to look at another money supply measure to calibrate it. And that's where we have proposed M5 as a money supply measure, which looks at M3, which is commonly used in India, not others. M1 and M3 are which are looked at in India. M3 plus the cryptocurrency or the digital currency, which needs to be there. As I said, Venezuela introduced. India would be the first country in the world to introduce a digital currency if we are able to launch, although China has been talking about it for the last 3-4 years. But they've still not launched. We don't see the presence of that digital currency, BBC digital currency, in anywhere. So they are still struggling with the technological framework. United States of America, recently in the last 6 months, has come out and clearly made statements where they said, we have allowed these crypto products to float, but we have not given them legitimacy. We have not said that they're a currency. So it is very clear, and the Fed said we will be launching our own dollar digital currency, which is what has come out in the last 6 months. And recently, only about 2 weeks back, we saw Warren Buffett's partner, or the Warren Buffett firm, come out and say that it is something virtual, it is not acceptable, it is something like a fraud. He has made clear statements. Now, he is one of the largest investment banking firms around the world, which is like got treated by a large number of investment bankers. Imagine they have also created, based out of United States of America, clear indication that please remain away from such products. This is not something which is to be there. Already Shishir has talked about the fiat currency, so I will not detail, but this is something which we have been talking about. 72 plus countries, they are listed here, have clearly banned the usage of crypto products which have been floating in the market. In India, they are allowed in stock markets, although I respect the decision of the Supreme Court of India, which has given the clearance for stock market. But as I said, it defies the very basic principle of an asset class. So it cannot be, and we have explained this in a full section in our paper. How does it defy? This is the paper which was there, and you can see immediately after that the creation of the panel which was created. In any case, large number of interviews are there. Some of them are given here linked. This is a book where the second innings of the 2020 paper December came out. When we look at money supply, as I said, please go through this again. In details is given. As I said, asset valuation is very critical. How do you go about valuing an asset? I typically refer to these crypto products. जिसका कोई माई बाप नहीं है. I was not able to find an alternative English term for it. But you know, there's no my baap. It's a virtual thing happening somewhere, existing somewhere, trading somewhere, existing somewhere else. No one knows where it is. Even the holder of that product doesn't know where exactly it is. There is a ledger which is being maintained. Very good. A book of account maintained. Who maintains it? Where is it maintained? No one knows. As long as you have the password, you access it, you know it is there. Like recently, about a month back, a gentleman, a small middle class zone in Rohini had crores of worth of this product. And he lost them, disappeared, landed up with terrorist groups across the globe. Now imagine a person who is in a small town having crores of such a value. Where does he go to today if it is lost? Should he go to the Indian government? Should he go to the UK government? Should he go to the UAE government? And once they go register also, let us say they're able to trace and register, they will say, oh, where was it held? Where did this theft take from? He has no clue where exactly it is held, in what form it is held, where would you go for, and so on and so forth. And in any case, he will be in a fix because not only will he have to pay 30% as Shishir talked about, but otherwise as to account for where did he get that money to buy such crores of worth of bitcoins? Has he paid taxes on the money which he bought it from? So there are many multiple questions which create this kind of Santoshi Nato, clear, virtual, and identity, unknown, illegitimate framework which does not and defies the framework of money and asset class. In any case, I've explained these. Kindly go through them. How does M1, M2, different countries look at different money supply measures, broad monies, and so on and so forth. So as I said, I will skip this section. What is important is in these virtual products, it's something which has been clearly identified. He said, yes, Shishir talked about the directional, the ease of flow. So there are multiple other factors. Why? Because it is not being accepted. It is not only the question of one component which is there, legal tender, regulatory framework, control by the central bank or the government. Which government controls it? Why even the United States, which promotes some of these products, is not there? The ECB came out with this almost in 2015 or 16, where clearly they said, what is the difference between electronic money schemes and the virtual currency schemes which are existing? And what are the key concern areas? Please understand, the concept is flawed, the product is flawed. So please do not look at, my dear friends, you see drug trafficking, arms in selling in illegal business, women trade, organ trade, lot of money, lot of volatility. So does it make it legitimate? Does it make it right that we should go about investing in some of these activities? No. So please be careful of some of these because these products may be looking liquid, may be looking tangible, but they are not. The real asset structure is clearly weak and foundation is clearly weak. And as a result, you should not look at this. Various agencies have talked about it. Is it a tangible asset class? There is no clarity on it. Do we need mining for virtual currencies? We do not need mining for virtual currency. You just need to change the currency from paper to virtual. The only difference is, and I'll not go through this particular framework of mining, you can all read, it's a very common process which is explained, as I said, is not required for the way we are looking at creating frameworks. What is, these are some things which clearly look at decentralization, easy to set up, anonymous, transparent and opaque, transparency fee, speed in transfer, non-repetitive. These are some of the concepts which are being told by all these crypto products runners that this is what we can do. It is not something which is important. Tomorrow's lot of things like this money, crores of rupees landed up in terroristic groups. An exchange only about 10 days back, an exchange, complete ledger was eroded away. The whole products were eroded away. The next day they brought it back. How did they bring it back? Where did they get it from? None of them made any public statement. None of the exchanges made any public statement. Please understand, this is completely fungible. The value basis, the stability, the liquidity, information accessibility, the regulatory framework and transfer are something which are clearly a real problem for this. You see, the digital rupee is something which is very different. If we are to run it the way our digital payments are running today, as proposed in Union Budget, then there is no difference. We are already doing digital transfers, whether it is using Paytm or other UPI apps or Beam app or any other platform or NEFT or RTGS, then what is the difference between a digital rupee? A rupee which moves from my pocket to the outsider, like I pay 100 rupees for buying sabzi, vegetables, or I use it for buying drinks, or I use it to buy, mend my shoes, or I use it to buy tea, coffee in the vendors. It moved from my pocket, my wallet, to that person's wallet directly. Similar as a digital rupee, which they're looking at in RBI, will move from my virtual wallet to the other person's virtual wallet without using these payment gateways and structures. As a result, we will remove these cost factors which are involved in terms of transfers and transactions or holding them. Certainly, there is a wallet cost. I can buy a wallet for 50 rupees, 100 rupees, for 1 lakh rupees. My leather wallet or my paper wallet or my steel wallet can come. Similar, there will be a cost for digital wallet holders, depending on which one they want to hold. But you will be able to transfer from one wallet to the other. And RBI is already testing some of these technologies. We already have a framework where you don't need to use internet. Indian rupee has been there, or Indian currency, not rupee, but Indian currency has been there going from 1000 BCE. Very important. We had it in the form of rupiah, meaning silver. Rupee introduced in Shesha Suri in 1496. 3 banks merged, 12 fanas into 1 rupee. So it is not something new. We are one of the oldest economies in the world which has had currency, as a matter of fact, from different forms to different forms. But again, authenticated by those kings and kingdoms. No jeweler or goldsmith or a silver mender could say this is a currency. It had to be authenticated. And this is what is important, and we have been talking repeatedly that the government of India and central bank needs to come out in terms of inducing the central bank digital currency instead of looking at these virtual products. It will be also interesting to note, and you should know this, that Indian Rupee has been floating in the Gulf zone as an external outside the Indian market since May 1959 as a currency floating in the market in a different color, because India did not, the central bank did not understand if it is the same rupee, how will they account for in the money supply measure? How will they take account for it? And that's why they had a new different color of currency just floating in the Gulf zone. We have been a floating currency, a managed float currency, which is almost all, even United States dollar is a managed float currency. Since 1978, we are a reserve currency. This Ukraine-Russia war, they have been talking about, yes, we can still trade. Why not with Russia? They're the strongest partner with us. Yes, on the humanitarian ground, it is not right what they're doing, but then we are still trading partner, and the rupee is a reserve currency for decades now. It can be used in rupee, it can be the rupee-ruble trade. Before the SWIFT system came into picture, we were doing that. So there are many mechanisms of doing it. So because we are a fiat currency, a floating currency, China for the last 7 years has been trying to push its currency to become a reserve currency, but they're not able to do. We have been floating, we have international exposure, and so we're very much advanced. And we have never had any major problem. In any case, I will skip these slides, some things which have been done partially or done, not done, what we have been proposing from time to time, which have been implemented. But what is important is this Aadhaar interplay, the JAM Trinity, and the cyber security structure, which is much beyond the social security system of the United States, is going to help us create the digital safe environment which we are looking at. Certainly there are NABs which will be taken care of, and we will go forward. These are some of the questions before us which are critical before all of us. What do we want to do? How do we want to do? It is before the government, it is before organizations, and this is critically something which the digital dividends or the divide brings in before us. Again, there are some things which need to be looked upon. Given the interest of time, I will skip some of them. As I said, Arun Jaitley ji said not legal union budget 18-19. So 18, please understand, it is very clear. So there is no mystic there. I'll just now touch upon the aspects which enhance in which questions were raised by Srijit, and then I'll close my presentation in another 5 minutes.
Professor Agrawal, just a minute. I have to leave, so please excuse me. I'm extremely sorry.
Give me half a minute. If I want one thing, if you can look at it, and then you can go forward just after this. Is it okay? If it is okay, just 1 minute.
Okay.
So the budget, in my opinion, brings in these aspects. I will not debate because we're not on a budget. But what I wanted to bring forth to you all is this particular aspect of digital, which Shishir also talked about. What the budget has said is virtual assets. My dear friends, Nirmala Sitharamanji, without knowing, has opened an ambit of umbrella structure which is beyond control now. Virtual assets includes digital paintings, which have been selling for billions, patents, EFTs, crypto products, which also Shishir mentioned about. Data and information, it is also an asset, a virtual asset. Photographs, rare photographs which have been trading. Markets have been there. I know photographs used to be bought by media houses for a long time. Virtual asset. Now this news which is coming from Ukraine, large number of people don't have reporters there. But when they buy this news from them, it is a virtual asset. Influencers, goodwill. In accounting, you might have studied in commerce. Goodwill is an intangible asset. It is completely virtual. It is a virtual asset. So you are looking at a 30% tax on some of these and many other kind of virtual assets, which has not been encompassed. And then TD has already, Shishir has explained 1% on virtual transfer, which is there. What will be the fate of these crypto products will be decided by this cryptocurrency bill, which is tabled in 9 November 2021. And we will only come to know what will be there. Shishir, this is only what I want to talk about in terms of virtual assets, which was there. I'm closing in another half a minute or so. So please understand, we have ambit of structures which are there, and please look at these virtual assets. Nirmala Sitharamanji has given an overviewing definition. Like derivatives is something which came in 1975-78, but it encompasses even insurance products. Although they don't go because there's a tax benefit custom with the insurance products, but otherwise even the insurance products is a basic derivative product, and huge ambit of other products have come into pictures. AI and blockchains are integral part of human well-being. These can't get away. Should the digital currency be launched with blockchains? Yes, it can be. Would it be the same blockchain which are existing? I do not know. I think the RBI may look at creating, some of the RBI officers have said, we will create new blockchain structures which will be more robust, because blockchains are also vulnerable today. They are not something which they said is secure. Regulatory prudence need to go up, role of the central bank needs to go up. In any case, we are seeing, as I said, introduction, it's a e-Rupee is something where they're able to transfer directly. And that's what they're still testing. Last slide, vision, which is there, the jobs, growth and simplification, which is critical. It is important that we induce. World economic new order is there. Re-emergence of multipolar world is coming back. People criticize demonetization. I say demonetization has done something which even credit cards could not do in 1970s. It has made a population, a segment of this country, which is almost about 60% of population, lower middle class BPL families, digital. And that is empowering them with security. Why? Because if they went, they earn 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 20 rupees. Now they get it in digital format. Earlier they had cash. While going back home, they will end up spending it in wrong kind of activities like drinks, alcohol, or games, playing games, or theft. They had no recourse. But today it goes into digital wallet, goes to the account, ultimately builds up. Similarly, credit cards statements, if you look at MasterCard and Visa, in the 70s, they talked about the way they will empower, but they could not do. This particular demonetization and JAM Trinity has made it happen in terms of educating that segment which could not have been taught or structured to move into a digital platform. And hence, the digital rupee will help even enhance further the whole framework. Like to just quote Buddha's eightfold path, which is right views, right decisions, right speech, right actions, right living, right struggle, right thoughts, and right meditations. And lastly, what is most important is the trust and confidence, which holds key to growth and prosperity, whether it is between nation and the civilians, whether it is between employer and employee, whether it is between teacher and student, whether it is between parents among themselves or parents and children. If you do not have trust and confidence, you do not go forward. My dear friends, you need to have trust and confidence in what you do. And that's with that, I just end my presentation, some of our works which have got international recognitions. With that, I thank you all to patiently listen to me. I'll be open to any questions which you have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now invite CA Ashok Sharma, Senior Most Faculty Member of Commerce Department, who has teaching experience of more than 40 years, to conclude the topic and address the audience.
So just a minute, sir, I have to leave because I have my class at 10:30. So with due apology to all of you. So please excuse me. Thank you very much for.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Enriching to be with you.
Yeah.
So thank you, and hope to see you again on this platform. Okay. Thank you. So thank you very much, and I really thank from the core of my heart to both our speakers for their knowledge enhancing and knowledge enriching and good experience about this mystic topic of crypto. The word, I think, resembles cryptic. The whole concept seems to be cryptic, whatever way it's going on. We were discussing what should be the topic. There was a discussion, should be cryptocurrency, should be crypto asset. I suggested, and they accepted. It should be kept simply crypto, because I believe it is neither an asset nor it's a currency. For it being an asset or anything being an asset, and we as students of commerce, when we think about investing in something, it must first be an asset. Then only comes a question of appreciation in the future. Asset is having a value underlying. What economic benefit it can give you by use. If it is something having some inherent value, then only is a question of asset. So this cryptocurrency, which itself is mystified, not there, have no inherent intrinsic value definitely cannot be called an asset. Currency, whatever some few people, a group of people amongst themselves, they agree to transact on that basis, it may be limited to them. But for it being called a currency, it must be having a backing, a recognition by the governments. The currency by the government will be recognized, acknowledged, or issued only when it is backed by the asset. So this cryptocurrency, whatever we talk about, is not a currency also, except one very small country in the world. Nobody has accepted this, because accepting this is going to create disastrous results. We are all aware that there are some financial control mechanism in the world. If a country is not having proper financial system controls, they are put in the gray list. Our neighboring countries also from time to time given warnings. If you don't follow in line, then you will be in the gray. But here in the cryptocurrency, if we call it a currency, it is totally unregulated. We don't know why it is rising. We don't know why it's falling. We don't know who is buying, who is selling, through what medium they are selling, and what is the contract, what is the law governing them, and what is the protection to the buyer, to the seller, to the transactor. We have nothing. So it's a system created outside the officially recognized financial system of the whole world. And that is creating a threat to our normal functioning, normal economy, normal transactions. So it may be helping some people in creating illegal trades, illicit things, something which is not recognized. Even in this time of war, some sanctions have been put against Russia. And in the 80s, there was a report. USA is sure Russia will not be much affected because they have started shifting their transactions to crypto. So it means if you want to bypass something regulated, social order, world order, economic order, then it can kill that and harm the society at large. I was reading a report a few days back in Economic Times. In the year 2021 itself, there was a fraud of $14 billion in cryptocurrency. There was a fraud, single fraud by a particular couple in New York, which was arrested, of $2.4 billion. These are the recent reports in last week or so. Because there's no regulation. If you buy a share, you buy a security, you have a demat account, there's a whole SEBI regulation, guarantees, proper registration. And when you transact in the shares and in security, your money is assured, is guaranteed practically. But here there is no mechanism. There's a wallet. Where it is, as rightly said by our honorable speaker, who is controlling, who is having the key, and who steal the key when you don't come to know. The government of India, it appears like government of many other states and practically the whole world. They are not in favor of accepting this as a parallel system which is unregulated and may be controlled by unscrupulous groups of people. Why crypto has gone up? I think it's a fashion. Something goes up, everybody is after that. Why it's going up, we don't think. And sometimes some big people, some influential people in the world, they also get into and help create a confidence amongst the people that it is a asset, it is a currency, it will definitely go up. We do not try to understand whether it is an asset having a real value, whether it is a currency supported by the government. We just see one of the richest man of the world has made a statement that he will allow the transaction in his company through Bitcoin, and he has also invested $1 billion. And it was expected from $60,000, it will go to $1 lakh. And fact is before you. After this, it came to $30,000. And now when the war started, it came down after going up a bit. But when the sanctions were there, and it was found that those transactions which are not permitted may be done through crypto, the demand was increased. So we are in an illegitimate world in my view. So I think we as a student, we as an investor, must stay away. Now, from the crypto as an investment, as a currency, and should not think about appreciation. If time is permitted, I'll give you some small story. Just comes to my mind. Now, there's a question about taxation and the Indian government position. Reserve Bank of India banned, it issued a notification. Then no financial institution will be allowed to deal in the crypto. Rightfully so, in my view. Because any central bank has to take care of the well-being of the people. We are all running towards crypto because it is increasing. There's an appreciation appearing to be there. There's a mad rush. The government cannot stop you. So they have to just take a decision, ban it. That's a different issue. Reserve Bank India order was struck down by Honorable Supreme Court. Because it was not legally sanctioned. Not as per our constitution, we could not have declared it illegal. But today, government is still under the understanding, discussing, because lots of people, as Professor Agrawal has pointed out, crores of people are involved. So government has to be very cautious in taking a decision. But linking the taxation to the legality is absolutely wrong. Taxation of income or any amount is not connected with the legality of a transaction or legality of a income. In income tax, we tax all types of income, legal, illegal, moral, immoral, whatever it may be. Thus, taxing does not give a legal recognition to the transaction. Now, when the government wants to dissuade something, government wants to disincentivize something, then government normally brings the maximum amount of rate of tax. That is, as in the case of lotteries, etc. also, horse races also, the same rate of 30% is there. Now, along with that, they have tried to cover all the virtual assets. Because people find one way or the other as a media to convert black into white or money laundering or whatever. So they have brought a broad, very wide category of virtual assets, which include so-called cryptocurrency also. So basically, I will say, government has also to take a very cautious, well-considered approach as to how to deal with this. Government, it appears, is having inclination more towards not allowing it any further, but wants to go very cautiously. Definitely, they are not saying it is illegal. We should not be under any misunderstanding. So my suggestion to you would be, stay away from this as an investment, because some of our colleagues, even in the college, they are talking about investment. They have made investments also. In the crypto, I asked on what basis, others had bought, they had made good profits. And now at whatever price they bought, it is substantially less. We don't know what will happen to it. Now, dealing in that digital currency or digital platform is altogether a different thing. The question is, if it is a currency, maybe a rupee as a currency, dollar as a currency, euro as a currency. Now, platform may be digital, may be physical. That's a different thing. We should not confuse digital way and digital currency, different from cryptocurrency. Now, Indian government, Reserve Bank of India may also issue digital cryptocurrency, but then it is backed by Reserve Bank of India or Government of India. Now, it may be transacted physically or electronically. That's a different thing. No platform, blockchain on which it is built appears to be quite safe. It should be there. So my conclusion would be, whatever information, knowledge we have got from our two learned eminent speakers, it really adds a lot of value to us. But my conclusion would be, let's stay away from this no known value, no known legal backing, no official recognition, no regulation. What it is, nobody knows. Why we are buying, we don't know. अगर शिवानी 1 मिनट का टाइम है तो थोड़ी सी कहानी छोटी सी माइंड में आई। वो कही जाती है स्टॉक मार्केट के बारे में, और इतनी ठीक वहां नहीं लगती है, मुझे यहाँ ज्यादा ठीक लगी। छोटी सी है, अब प्रोफेसर अग्रवाल ने परमिट करें तो थोड़ा सा मैं कहता हूँ, मुझे लगता है ये क्रिप्टो करेंसी बिटकॉइन की जो बात हो रही है उस पर ज्यादा सूट करेगी। पता चला कि गांव में there was a set of people, 4-5 people, they came to a village. अब आके लोगों ने पूछा, जी आप क्या चाहते हैं? कहते हैं हमको बंदर पकड़ने, we want to catch monkeys. अब गांव के लोगों ने कहा बंदर, आज तक तो किसी ने पूछा नहीं, बंदर को कौन पूछता है, कौन पकड़ता है? उन्हें क्या करेंगे आप करने की, जिसकी बहुत वैल्यू है, बता नहीं सकते पर हमको चाहिए, आप पकड़ के लाइए, आपको 1000 रुपए देंगे। लोगों ने बंदर पकड़ने शुरू कर दिए। अब बंदर पकड़ते हुए रेट 2000 हो गया, 3000 हो गया, 5000 हो गया। अब लोग पढ़ते गए, लोगों को शक होने लगा कि बंदर पकड़े क्यों जा रहे हैं। उन्हें 10,000 रेट हो गया। अब धीरे धीरे ये सब बात वहां फैलनी शुरू हो गई कि बंदर पकड़ते जाइए, तो 10,000 रुपये मिलने लगा बंदर का। उसके बाद 15,000 हो गया, 20 हो गया। अब ये खलबली मच गई पूरे में। जैसे क्रिप्टो करेंसी को लेकर हर आदमी कह रहा है ये 2008 में कहाँ था, अब कहाँ पहुंच गया, कितने 1000 टाइम इसमें अप्रिसिएशन हो गई। अब इसकी वर्थ क्या है ये पता नहीं है किसी को, ये है क्या ये पता नहीं है, पर इतना पता है इट हैज इंक्रीज मैनीफोल्ड। इतनी रिटर्न कहीं और आ नहीं सकती। अब लोगों ने उसके मैनेजर से, उसके लोगों से बातचीत करनी शुरू की कि भाई करेंगे क्या। उसने कहा जी ये बंदर इन्होंने किसी को 1 लाख में बेचने हैं, डिमांड है बहुत ज्यादा बंदरों की। उसने कहा अच्छा हम तो बेवकूफ है, 10,000 में इनको बंदर बेच रहे हैं, पकड़ के दे रहे हैं। उन्होंने कहा ठीक है जी ऐसा करिए, थोड़े से बंदर मुझे दे दीजिए, मैं भी 1 लाख के बेच लूंगा। तो उसने उससे 20,000 में बंदर थोड़े से ले लिए, फिर उसने 40,000 ले लिए। फिर एक दिन पता चला कि सारे बंदर वहीं के लोगों ने एज ए परक्विजिट टू देम, एज ए गुड रिलेशन विद द मैनेजर, उन्होंने ही खरीद लिए कि भाई हम ये इनसे 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 के लेके 1 लाख की जो फॉरेन कंपनी आनी है ना उसको बेचे। अब एक दिन पता चला कि सब लोग पर्सनली उसको मिलते मिलते बड़े ऑर्गेनाइज महसूस कर रहे थे। उसको किसी को 2 बंदर दिए, किसी को 5 दिए, किसी को 10 दिए। वो पैसे दे के ले आए कि ये 20 का लिया, किसी ने 30 का लिया, उसने 1 लाख का बेचूंगा। एक दिन सुबह उन्होंने देखा कि ना बंदर का मालिक है, ना बंदर के वो स्टाफ है, ना उसके मैनेजर है, ना टीम है। उन्हें सब कहाँ गए? सब भाग गए। तो मेरे ख्याल से ये वो बंदर है जिसकी अंडरलाइन वैल्यू में पता नहीं क्या है। 1000 से 2 हुआ, 10 हुआ, 15 हुआ, 20 हुआ, 25 हुआ, और 1 लाख का सपना दिखा दिया गया। जैसे कि इसमें भी पता चला बिटकॉइन में कि जब एलन मस्क ने कहा 60,000 पे, आई अलाउ माय कंपनी टेस्ला टू डील विद दिस, to accept this as a currency, which subsequently did not happen. So there was a talk it will go up to 1 lakh of rupee, 1 lakh of dollar, and no, we know now where it is. तो मेरे ख्याल से बड़ी देसी भाषा में, बड़ी सिंपल सी भाषा में, आप क्यों खरीद रहे हैं? वॉरेन बफेट ने कहा, बिफोर यू इन्वेस्ट इन समथिंग, you must know, you must be able to write at least a line on this. Why you are buying something? Why you investing in something? There must be some underlying strength, value, intrinsic value in the sector. That's all I think I would like to say to our students, because some of our students are very active also, and they do invest in the stock market, and they do invest maybe in the crypto. So my advice to them would be, please stay away. The moment it comes, this crypto, not any digital currency issued by any government, by any central bank. It is a legal, valid tender, not physical, but in the digital form. But this banda, I think you should stay away. And I'll accept that Professor Agrawal will agree with me on this, because objective of our sessions are also to educate our students that they should not endure because they get lured by unexpected huge returns. And some of our colleagues in the college also, now they are battling with what to do now. We bought at $60,000. So I think that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now like students to raise their hands if they have any questions from Ashok sir or Aman Agarwal sir.
Sanjeev has raised his hand. Akshita, just see.
Sanjeev, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
And everyone, my question is for Aman sir. Sir, I would like to ask how's the crypto market affect the Indian stock market?
Thank you for asking that question. First of all, please understand that a gentleman who was trading on crypto asked me this question a couple of days back, and I asked him, you gave your KYC. Did you take their KYC? Do you know where exactly that exchange exists? Or it does not exist? Or what is the legal status of that exchange? You see, crypto exchanges have come up in terms of trading some of these crypto products, but they have no direct interplay with any exchange in this country. However, people, when they do asset reallocation, you see, asset reallocation is you buy, like Harry Markovich said, you don't put your eggs in the same basket. So some people will always have a portfolio of assets they invest in, like gold, silver, stock market, real estate, savings, deposits, and so on and so forth. So one has fixed amount of money, but then he takes out money from one and puts in the other. So there would be some kind of an impact when one wants to take out money from crypto and put it in somewhere else. But there's no direct relationship between the exchanges set up for these crypto products or the exchanges which are already existing, like the Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange, except for the investors moving their money from one to the other. And there is no clear relationship which can be established, because even if the money is taken out in these exchanges which are set up across the globe, you do not know where exactly the server is. You do not know which country they are housed in. You do not know which cloud they are kept in. So you're not very clear of the nomenclature of some of these crypto-based exchanges and who controls and who does not control. So, you need to be very careful when you start trading on some of these exchanges. As I said again, in India, large number of government officers have clearly said that they are not legal, except for one country around the world, which is El Salvador. And that is also because of economic problems they are facing. And we saw with this diamond fraudster who took away a lot of money from India and went into a small country. What has that country done with this gentleman? Has sent him back and taken away all his money. We will see similar kind of a scenario with El Salvador, maybe in a few months' time from now, when they will do that, because El Salvador and a couple of other Latin American countries have been facing economic hardships and destabilization of their own currencies for almost 3 decades now. Not now, 3 decades. Many of them were even proposed dollarization way back in the 80s, that they should abandon their currency and take dollar as their main currency, like we see in case of Europe. So my only suggestion is there is no direct link. However, you should be playing safe. You are investing or playing with fire. When you're playing with fire, you need to play. You like playing with crackers. Many people like to hold the cracker and burn it in their hand. And we have seen the repercussions thereupon also. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that. But it is not something which I would like to even propose or link it with any kind of a framework, including the economic growth of a country, because it cannot be accounted for. You see, the 30% tax my colleague just mentioned about, I could not because Shishir wanted to go, I wanted to finish up the presentation. The 30% tax is on what? When you declare an asset, first of all, you have to declare, like the gentleman from Rohini who had crores of worth of these bitcoins and all. Did he declare? He only came in public domain when it was lost. If he sells it to X, Y, or Z, even if he doesn't declare, how will you put a tax? Secondly, where did the money come from in terms of buying all this asset is still a big question. Are you giving cash? Are you giving digital money? Are you paying in dollars? Are you paying in black dollars? Are you paying in euros? Where are you getting this money from? Till all those structures are structured in and a framework is created, there is no way you can even go about trying to introduce a 30% tax or 1% TDS, because, as I said, there is no MyBAP of such products. Where it goes from, where it is staying, where it is going to is not known. So if people don't know, if market operators don't know, how is the government going to know? Only 1% tax can be there in case of exchanges selling it, where the exchanges are in the land, where they can claim that is under the control of India. Only then. If suppose I am sitting here and I set up an exchange in the United States with a server. What is an exchange today? A digital exchange is just a server. Even Bombay Stock Exchange is physically present, but it is running on server. Now that server can be on a cloud in the United States, in Australia, in Germany, in France, anywhere. So who will run? Would the laws there in Germany run it, or the laws in India will run it? They can hold me since I'm sitting here, but they cannot go about holding the exchange or running of the exchange because it may be somewhere else. So there is no linkage in any form, either with the economic activity or with any other exchange per se, or one exchange to the other, even from one crypto exchange to another crypto exchange.
Any more question, please?
I thought Generation Z was filled with questions.
Manoj.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. So, as mentioned in the webinar, that there is no proper legislature for this cryptocurrency, sir. But even though in the present time we are talking about this, so, sir, my question is there will be any kind of system that will be developed like throughout the talks or even discussing in the committees that there will be a proper system for developing the market or system for this cryptocurrency. Even though this is not there is no proper legislature for this thing, but even we are discussing this in the webinar. So through the discussions, there will be a kind of system which will develop for the cryptocurrency in the nearby future, or there is a kind of scope.
Yeah, first of all,
question
yeah,
to me or
I understand.
Professor Agarwal?
Yeah. You see, first of all, we have said if it is a cryptocurrency or a digital currency launched by a central bank, there would be a full framework and structure which will be there. And they will tell you what is legitimacy, what is the structure, how will it operate, and everything will be known very clearly. However, these so-called cryptocurrencies, as I say, crypto products, there is no framework which determines them. In fact, there is a cryptocurrency bill which are supposed to be tabled in the parliament session which took place in which the budget was presented. However, it has been deferred to the next parliament session, and hopefully, and this bill has been studied by a parliamentary committee which is headed by Piyush Goyal, who is the Minister for Commerce, and then tabled to the parliament. So once this decision on this cryptocurrency bill comes forth, would we have a clarity on what will be the fate of such crypto products in India in specific? But till that time, and since this document is not available in public domain, so we cannot really come out and say exactly what are the features which have been proposed by the parliamentary committee, which is a high empowered parliamentary committee of all politician parties, even experts. And so they will not even dwell on what is actually said in this particular bill. Once it is tabled and once it is a public domain, then only can we come to know what is expected to be the fate of such crypto products in India in particular. The Federal Reserve Government has clearly in the last 6 months said that we have not given any legitimacy to such crypto products. It is not a legal tender. We are launching a digital currency. However, they have not banned also these crypto products being traded in the market in the United States or in Japan, because they were the first places, domains where they started originating from. And in India, as I have said, there have been multiple government officials, to name with Arun Jaitley, based on our work way back in the Union Budget 2018, said it is not a legal tender. Then we had the Department of Economic and Corporate Affairs come out with a report which is available online, clearly saying these virtual products need to be checked. This is not acceptable. Third, we saw the committee being created by Central Bank of India after our work got published in June 2018. In September 2018, where they created a committee to look at our work and create a digital currency, clearly moving away from crypto products. Fourth, we had Minister for State for Finance about 2 months back, 3 months back, come out and state very clearly, again, I think in October, November, clearly that these are not legal tenders, these are illegal. Then we had Deputy Governor, the whole of 2021. At multiple speeches, they have said it is not illegal. So you see, we have, and Deputy Governor, even Governor of the Reserve Bank of India has said there are no underlying assets, which you have said in our paper in 2015, 16, 17. So clearly, when so many government officials, who else is there? The Governor of a central bank, the Deputy Governor of a central bank, the Minister for State for Finance, the Minister for Finance, even Nirmala Sitharaman has come out and said partially. How many agencies or authorities do you need to give you an indication what exactly is acceptable, what is not acceptable?
But sir,
go ahead.
I'm asking, sir, they are not, even though we are recognizing, even though we are not discarding the fact, but still we are taking into the consideration that you can trade in these products. Is there implicit things that we have to take from this?
No, this is only allowed because Supreme Court had allowed, based on the companies, the crypto companies, Supreme Court, they had put a petition. The Supreme Court allowed only trading aspect. They did not quantify not being an asset. They did not quantify not being a legal product, but they only allowed trading on these products. And that is why after that trading is there, but RBI has clearly told banking community that they are not allowed to finance these products. They're not about to give money for trading in these products. Like you can trade in a stock market on debt or equity products and take money. Like for LIC IPO, which is coming out, you could actually go to your bank and take money from the bank and put it in the IPO there. You can't take that kind of money from a bank at all. So this is clearly, so they are not being, as I said again, being made illegal because there is a structure, there is a legal framework. My colleague who is a chartered accountant, he can give more structure because there is a regulatory framework which has to be created before we legitimate. And this bill, which I have said in table, will be only one which will become the clear mandate for what will happen to this product. Till that time, it is in the mist. And as I have said, with multiple agencies talking about it not being there. Even the Warren Buffett and large number of other investment bankers have come out and said, I think the community needs to be careful. As I've said, you see, understand the nuances. You are an educated person. You are getting education. Where is this education coming? Zakir Hussain College is giving education. It's an asset. It's building an asset in you. You're getting that asset from people who have earned and studied and worked hard. Where is the asset coming from? Where is the value coming from for these products? As my colleague just said, the monkey story. Now, if monkey starts selling like this, does it become that it is a tradable thing and should be allowed? There are so many things which happen. Organs are, drugs are there. People recently started selling alcohol online. Now that came into the dark web. Drugs are being sold online. Does it make it a legal structure? They may not be. Alcohol selling is not illegal. You have a license, you can go about selling it. But then people started selling it online, which was not allowed. And the government said it is not allowed. They have not come out with restrictions there again, that you can't do it. If there is a proper framework, the Ministry of Commerce allows you, you can go about doing it. So please understand, this vacuum is still there. There are documents which are going to bring clarity to it. But as of today, this is there. But again, as a professor, and someone who has been mooting this idea from the very beginning, from 2015-16, I would not suggest you to even delve into such products, even if they give. You see, a very simple concept of investment is, if there is too high volatility in particular product, then you need to be cautious. Certainly, there is a risk-return theory. But if there is too much volatility in any product, any activity, then you need to be careful of it. Unless you want to enjoy, like I said, burning the cracker holding in your hand, you can certainly enjoy, but you need to be careful, because there is no real growth which can give you that kind of a return which some of these products are giving.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
मैं इसमें थोड़ा सा ऐड करना चाहूंगा. एक प्रोफेसर अग्रवाल has already said, मैंने पहले भी कहा, देखिए वॉलेटिलिटी एक सब्सिक्वेंट इशू है, पर पहली बात, वी मस्ट रिकॉग्नाइज देयर इज एन असेट व्हिच हैज गॉट ए इनहेरेंट वैल्यू. देन देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ एप्रिसिएशन. Once we don't find it as an asset having any value, why should we think of investing in this? Unless you are very much adventurous, you have got a lot of risk capital, you want to delve into the sea and enjoy whatever happens, then you're welcome. Otherwise, I think it is not something worth being even thought about as an investment, because it is not an asset, it is not a currency also. तो ये ध्यान रखिए. मैं स्टूडेंट्स को बार बार क्यों कह रहा हूँ, क्योंकि आजकल ये थोड़ा सा ट्रेंड चल गया है, फैशन भी हो गया है, और काफी बच्चे मुझे पता चला कि इन्वेस्टमेंट करने शुरू कर चुके हैं. तो आई एम जस्ट सेइंग टू अदर्स, उनको देख के अट्रैक्ट मत होइए. पता चला कि वो तो अपना ऑलरेडी नुकसान कर चुके हैं, आप भी उस लाइन के अंदर आ गए. अपनी पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दीजिए, उसके बाद करिए, पर इससे अलग रहिए. स्टॉक मार्केट आपको मुकेश जी पढ़ाते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट, तो जो फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट है आपका जो टॉपिक है, जो बुक का, जो हमारा सिलेबस का पेपर का टॉपिक भी है, फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट, उन फंडामेंटल को बस ध्यान रखिए. डज इट हैव ए फंडामेंटल? इफ आंसर इज यस, प्रोसीड. इफ आंसर इज नो, आई थिंक यू शुड ड्रॉप इट. मैकेनिज्म क्या होगा, नहीं होगा, गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी, वो एक सब्सिक्वेंट इशू है. गवर्नमेंट के रेगुलेशन बहुत चीजों को देखते हुए होते हैं. इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ है, गुड वेलबींग ऑफ द पीपल है. नेसेसरली पीपल शुड नॉट बर्न देयर हैंड्स. आपको याद होगा एक टाइम था दिल्ली में लॉटरी बहुत ज्यादा प्रेवलेंट हो गई थी, और कितने लोगों को कितने नुकसान हुए थे, कितना एडिक्शन हो गया था, कुछ लोगों ने सुसाइड भी किया था. देन दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट बैन द लॉटरी. तो इसमें भी मुझे लगता है ऐसा ही कुछ होने जा रहा है, या होता लगता है. तो सिंपली मेरा एक एडवाइस है आपको कि इसका, क्योंकि फंडामेंटल नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट की कोई सपोर्ट नहीं है, रिकॉग्निशन नहीं है, तो उस चीज को ध्यान रखते हुए आई थिंक इट इज एडवाइज्ड यू टू स्टे अवे. हाँ, अगर एडवेंचर करना है, मिस एडवेंचर करना है, लेट द टाइम कम व्हेन यू हैव गॉट सरप्लस मनी, यू वांट टू रिस्क इट, वांट टू प्ले विद इट. वो एक आपकी चॉइस होगी, बट देन यू नो यू आर टेकिंग ए कैलकुलेटेड रिस्क एंड यू आर रेडी टू forego that money. Then it is okay. That can be your decision. Thank you.
Shivani ma'am, I have also raised my hand.
हाँ जी सर, हाँ जी पूछिए सर.
Aman sir, very good morning. Myself, Dr. Mahmood. I am a faculty member in the Hussain College. Sir, Ashok sir, this is my observation and I would like to have your reaction on that. You know, one of the purpose of Notebandi was that, you know, this money should not reach to anti-Indian forces, particularly terrorists, etc. So here also, because here we don't know who is issuing, who is selling, who is buying. So don't you think so that it will negate very purpose, and anti-Indian forces can, you know, pump the money through this cryptocurrency? So why not straight away government of India is banning it? Should I conclude that there are some, you know, political pressures are there, some big business houses are there who are dealing in it? Please sir, enlighten.
देखिए गवर्नमेंट ऐसा सोचती है, पर हमें पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर को ही ग्राउंड नहीं लेना चाहिए. अभी अग्रवाल साहब ने बताया कि 1.5 से 2 करोड़ लोगों का इन्वेस्टमेंट हो चुका है. अब गवर्नमेंट को थोड़ा कॉशियस तो होना पड़ेगा, इवन इफ द गवर्नमेंट टेक्स ए स्टैंड की इलीगल है, प्रॉपर नहीं है, वी डोंट वांट टू सपोर्ट इट. और गवर्नमेंट ये भी नहीं चाहेगी अगर इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट एक मिडिल क्लास, लोअर मिडिल क्लास ने भी किया है, खाली एचएनआईज नहीं है, हाई नेटवर्क इंडिविजुअल ही नहीं है, हम जैसे लोग भी हैं जिन्होंने इस लालच में ये डबल ट्रिपल 4 टाइम हो जाएगा इन्वेस्ट किया है. तो गवर्नमेंट में भी एक वेल कंसिडर्ड, एक बैलेंस व्यू लेगी कि उनका भी नुकसान ना हो जाए, जितना बच सके, आगे इसको डिस्ट्रॉय करें, नेगेट करें, लोगों को डिस्करेज करें मे बी. तो आई थिंक वो हम कहें कि जी कोई इन्फ्लुएंस है, प्रेशर्स हैं, वो देखिए चीजें क्या हैं या नहीं है, वी कांट कमेंट ऑन दैट, बट आई थिंक गवर्नमेंट हैज टू टेक.
बट सर मेरा एक सप्लीमेंट्री क्वेश्चन ये है कि यू नो ऑलरेडी कि हमारे यहाँ फाइनेंशियल इलिटरेसी कितनी ज्यादा है. तो अब आपने जैसे बता ही दिया कि बंदरों वाला, तो और हम लोग तो सर आ सकते हैं इसमें. तो डोंट यू थिंक सो कि 2 करोड़ की जगह 10 करोड़ हो जाएगा फिर? तो
देखिए गवर्नमेंट इसीलिए तो नेगेट कर रही है ना, हाईएस्ट रेट ऑफ टैक्स भी क्यों लेके आई है? दे आर डिसवर्डिंग, दे आर नेगेटिंग, डोंट डू इट. अब ट्रांसफर ऑफ द एसेट पे भी टैक्स कर दिया. अब उसके साथ में डिजिटल पेंटिंग की बात आप प्रोफेसर अग्रवाल ने बताई, वो भी एक चल रहा है. देखिए लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स कीप गोइंग, गवर्नमेंट हैज लॉट मच मोर इंफॉर्मेशन देन वी हैव. तो वो हाउ टू कन्वर्ट मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग कैसे कैसे होती है, क्या क्या नए तरीके निकलते हैं, तो देन स्लोली इन एवरी बजट दे ट्राई टू कवर इट. इसमें इशू ये था कि ये करेंसी है, असेट है, क्या है. If somebody has made profit, that whether it will be taxed as a business income in the normal rate of tax, or will it be taxed as a capital gain if it is an asset? But there were a lot of questions in that, and it is going on last for so many years. So there was no particular position. So government has made it clear. So it will not be taxed either as a capital gain or other business. It will be taxed as a income from other sources, straight at 30%, no losses, nothing be allowed as a deduction, no set off etc. तो जो आप कमाएंगे उस पर सीधा 30% टैक्स देंगे, कोई खर्चे कुछ नहीं मिलेगा.
तो सर
just to add to what just to clarify, you see, first of all, already has been debated, large amount of population has invested in it. So the government needs to look at the fact that how do you give them sufficient time to actually take a corrective action. Like, you know, I've been telling, as Professor was also saying that there are people, student community, faculty who are investing in it, and you're organizing this event. So maybe some of them might want to divulge out after listening to our views today out of this particular concept. Okay, some of them may not still, but some of them may want to divulge out. Similarly, the government in the last 2-3 years has been investigating, because in a democratic country, unlike China, where you just go out and say one thing that it is today, you know, because this government has taken some steps like that, and it has had a very negative rip-off effect on them. So most governments function with taking a structured way and looking at things. And they have been from time to time, almost every year, coming out and stating their mind, their point of view. So given that, they are trying to tell people, please move out, so that when we ban, it doesn't become a repercussion. Please understand, even if they ban, would it disappear? No, we had a paper on this where we clearly said it will go into Hawala. People will still trade in it because people will still like to trade in it. Chit fund बंद हो गया क्या? अब सहारा स्कैम हुआ, उसके बाद क्या चिट फंड बंद हो गया? अभी भी चल रहा है. There are large number of them still functioning. People may be literate, they see, but again, as I said, if you see too much of increase coming in, please be cautious. I tell everybody, because everything grows. One cannot grow to such a level that 1 rupee will become 1,000 or 1,000 will become 1 lakh rupees in a day or half a day. Can it add value to the economic growth? If it cannot add value to that level, how will your money grow? Because money has to be earned. It is not coming on tree. It is not coming from river or water. So it has to be earned. So that particular asset where you're investing and is going to increase in value will only increase. Similar is the case with market cap of a company and real asset. That's why chartered accountants look at both. Market cap only is for valuation purposes. But when you look at the real asset, the chartered accountant look at the intrinsic value of the company. They don't look at market value. They have called something goodwill, but they don't look at the market value per se. अगर वो करने लगेंगे तो फिर तो सब कुछ it will be fungible completely. So there are companies which have a market value or market cap going to trillions of rupees or dollars, whereas their actual intrinsic value is very small. Hotmail.com, one small example, and then before that I say, Hotmail.com you have all heard of. $500 million Microsoft bought it for. What was it? One computer created by this gentleman, Mr. Bhatia, in California. What was the total value of that computer? Maybe $500, $600, and depreciated value maybe $100, $200. Microsoft was not buying $100, $200 computer for $500 million. It was buying the accounts, these virtual accounts, which were logged into Hotmail.com, so he could market the products which it had. And if it wanted to reach those 500 legitimate users, it needed to spend some amount of money. So they calibrated and they gave 500 million. So there has to be a valuation system of going about valuing and seeing how a valuation is done. It can be right, it can be wrong. Like the IPO which is being valued has been in debate for LIC and whether it is the right value. In my opinion, it is still conservative in value. And I think the government should consider getting an appropriate value of the assets of LIC and then calibrating the actual value. Because most of the assets held by LIC are at book price. You know, land bought maybe in 60s or 50s or 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 500 rupees, today valued at 1 billion rupees or 2 billion rupees or 1 trillion rupees. There are lands like that, assets are there like that. And as a result, you need to have an appropriate value to go about pitching in. And I just hope the government looks at it. So it is a very, very difficult concept of going about valuing, but here there cannot be a value which can justify the way things are moving. So just because they are moving that way, please don't look at it. There are so many kinds of activities which still take place. Hawala takes place in this country. Women trade takes place in this country. Organ trade takes place in this country. Arms and ammunition trade takes place. You can buy an unauthorized arm and ammunition from every country, every state it has. You can go and buy. Would that make it legitimate? The value still goes up. People sell it. These I have already told. Chit fund is a clear-cut example. Now there are so many other things. You know, committees are there. You might have heard in local language, the committees, people, 5-6 people club together, put in money. Women do it in kitty parties, put in money and exchange. Is it a financial? If something happens, at least these 5-6 women know each other. Many a times, even in committees, people take away money and disappear. Even when they are family owned, family structured, even then. So does it make it legal? Just because you're going to get, you know, suppose one is putting 1 crore rupee in that committee and gets 10 members, 10 lakh rupees. One is able to get 10 lakh rupees. One he could not get from a bank or financial institution. So should it become legitimate? No. Because he's getting this money without paying any security. Does it make it legitimate? No. Let us understand that legitimacy is a different thing. And we will see, because the government is taking steps and warning people time and again. We have been warning people. We held almost about 40-50 conferences where I have addressed from time to time in the last 6 years. Where I've spoken internationally and within the country, where I've spoken to community and said this. Now, there is an awareness which gets generated, and hopefully people would be less in number when the government takes a strong stand on it. The government will take, as it is clearly visible from different activities.
Sir, so in the last on a humorous side, sir, हम बंदर ना लें.
नहीं, आप बंदर लीजिए. किसने कहा आप बंदर नहीं लीजिए? आप बंदर हैं तो बंदर लेंगे. अगर आप बंदर हैं तो बंदर लेंगे, बिकॉज आप ही हैं बंदर, तो बंदर को ही अप्रिशिएट कर सकते हैं. जो बंदर नहीं है वो बंदर को कैसे अप्रिशिएट करेगा? Please appreciate this fact. If you want to be a small child which has nails on his head and want to scratch your head and take blood out, it's your choice. Maybe you enjoy that pleasure. Maybe there is something which will come good out of it also. I'm not stopping it. I'm not saying you take what decision you take. Who holds money in gold or silver or jewelry or chit fund or invest in their children education? All of them are investment. All of them have value. It is for you to decide if that value can be justified by you or not. You know, people play games. लोग ताश खेलते हैं, पैसा फेंकते हैं, एक किक मिलता है उसके अंदर. एक रात को होली की रात, दिवाली की रात और फंक्शन की रात पे ब्रदर सिस्टर्स रिलेटिव्स मिलते हैं, ताश खेलते हैं, 1-1 लाख रुपए 2-2 लाख रुपए उड़ा देते हैं. नहीं, एक ये ये जिन्होंने आईपीएल वगैरह शुरू किया था, अनुज मोदी थे क्या, उन्होंने बताते हैं यंग एज में 22-23 ईयर्स की एज में दिल्ली के अंदर किसी होटल में बैठ के एक रात में कितने करोड़ों रुपए उड़ा दिए उसके ऊपर. अब वो उसको किक मिल रहा था, मैं कैसे कह सकता हूँ गलत कर रहा था? He was doing right. His father finally financed him out of it. But that doesn't make it a legitimate or right business. Casinos world over चलते हैं, Indian land पे allowed नहीं है. Does it make it legitimate or illegitimate? आपको casino खेलना है, आप जाके खेलिए. अब मकाओ के अंदर, and I'll stop in 1 second. In मकाओ के अंदर जो casinos हैं, even सिंगापुर में, मैं सिंगापुर टूरिज्म बोर्ड पे था, मीटिंग हुई, उन्होंने कहा हमारे यहाँ पे अलाउड नहीं है, बट बहुत सिंगापुरियंस कैसीनो खेलने जाते हैं. मैं कहा लैंड रूल अलाउ नहीं करते ना, समुद्र के रूल तो मना नहीं करते. आपको कोई रूल है जो समुद्र का मना करता है? आप एक शिप एंकर कर दो पानी के अंदर, वहां पे कैसीनो रन करो. और सिंगापुर ने किया वो. और अब क्या होता है, सिंगापुर अगर सिंगापुरियन जाता है तो $100 सिंगापुरियन डॉलर देना पड़ता है एंट्री का. कोई बाहर का आता है, इंडियन हो, अफ्रीकन हो, जर्मन हो, कोई भी हो, उसको कोई पैसा नहीं देना. इसी कैसे मकाओ के अंदर कैसीनोज में क्या है, जो अगर कोई मकाओन जाता है कैसीनो में, उसको $100 मकाओन डॉलर देना पड़ता है. पर जो बाहर का है, कोई भी आता है चाइना का, जो ज्यादातर आते, उनको कोई पैसा नहीं देना पड़ता है एज एंट्री फी. रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर रही है ना, पर इलीगल नहीं किया. इंडिया में तो इलीगल है ही, पर यहाँ पे भी गोवा के अंदर पानी के अंदर एक जहाज बैठा हुआ है, जहाँ पे मैं विजिट किया, बिकॉज सिंगापुर टूरिज्म बोर्ड वालों ने जो जब गोवा में बोर्ड मीटिंग करी, तब मैं उस मीटिंग में गया, उन्होंने मेरे को जहाज पे लेके गया, मेरे को तो पता ही नहीं था एक जहाज बैठा है पानी के अंदर, वहां पे वो छोटा सा कैसीनो रन करते हैं. अब पानी के रूल्स अलग है. तो इस तरीके से अब ये एक्सचेंजेस क्लाउड में है, चल रहे हैं. आप चलाइए, पकड़े गए तो आपकी मुसीबत है, नहीं पकड़े गए तो आपकी वाह वाह है. अब ये आपको देखना है कि वो एसेट वैल्यू है कि नहीं है. माय डियर फ्रेंड, मैं इसमें डाइवर्ज नहीं करूंगा, ये इलीगल है, गलत है.
बस एक ही लाइन में ऐड करना चाहूंगा, आपको पता है कि आप बंदर खरीद रहे हैं या वैल्यू खरीद रहे हैं, बट यू शुड नो दैट. बस दैट्स ऑल. शौक की कीमत नहीं होती. जैसे अग्रवाल साहब ने कहा, शौक की कीमत नहीं है, एंजॉयमेंट एक किक है, उसके लिए आप क्या करना चाहते हैं इट्स अप टू यू, बट इट इज नॉट ए इन्वेस्टमेंट.
करेक्ट.
Akshita.
Ma'am, Umeshi has raised her hand for a question, if we have time.
Umeshi, unmute करके बोलिए बेटा. Umeshi. I think she is not here.
Okay, ma'am. I thank our speakers for sharing their knowledge with us and engaging in an interactive session. And I would now like to invite Dr. Shivani Abrol, President of Commerce Society, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Akshita. I would like to extend gratitude to Professor Aman Agarwal and Mr. Shishya Sinha, who took time out of their busy schedule and agreed to be part of this event to enrich our students with their knowledge and expertise. It's been our pleasure to have you with us, sir. We look forward to seeing you again for the upcoming event. I would also like to thank and appreciate faculty members and organizing team who put in a lot of effort, and without them, the event wouldn't have been the success it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar.